cold. Feel like doing some social media, just in the mood for it. You know that part in the Matrix where Morpheus talks to Neo and says, what if I told you that everything that you ever knew was all some elaborate fabrication? Well, that's kind of what dyno runs are, and horsepower, and pretty much anything you read on the internet about anything. Like the girl you're chatting, like in Connecticut, doesn't look like she says she looks. Just so you know. This is a dyno. It's a chassis dyno. That's what we use to measure horsepower, torque, take samples of air, fuel, pretty much any sensor on the motorcycle we can tap into, we can log it. It's a pretty useful tool. It is a tool, and there's a variation in dynos. Depends on who makes it, who's running it, how it's set up, and what they're trying to sell you. So this is a Dyno-Jet. Dyno-Jet is common. It is a pretty good dyno for what it is. There's some nicer ones. Superflow makes a nice dyno. Mustang makes a nice dyno. You know, there's 4 or 5 others, but this is the most common one. My dyno is about 10 years old. It is the latest software Dyno-Jet makes. It's the WinPep 8. This diamond plate box right here is a load cell. It is an eddy current brake. It creates a drag to slow down the drum. It's got a 900-pound roller. The motorcycle accelerates the drum. Acceleration over time of a known mass, you get power. You apply math to that, you get torque. So this load cell can actually sample real-time running torque. If someone does not have a load cell dyno, they cannot do loaded torque. So if they're actually trying to do torque-based tuning, like playing with timing and stuff like that, where you can capture the bike at a certain RPM or speed, and then make changes and sample those changes, that can't be done with a just an inertial dyno where they're doing sweep tests, where the thing just goes bottom to top, or step tests, like going through the gear, stuff like that. It looks cool, you know, and it's kind of what you see all the time on YouTube and stuff, but it has kind of limited utility. The problem with dynos is that most people are trying to sell you something, a part or a tune, you know, some magic thing that's going to make all this power, it's going to be amazing. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. It's very easy to manipulate the number, either through apathy, not knowing what you're doing, or by design to give people what they want to see. Because I've been running a dyno for, you know, over 15 years, and nobody's ever told me this motorcycle makes more power than I thought. At least once a week and probably once a day, depends how much I use the dyno, somebody says, wow, this doesn't run like I thought it would. You know, they said that this would give me more power. These cams are going to make 20. This tune was going to make 10. This gas was going to make 5. This guy on the internet says his made, you know, 240. It's all, it's just kind of all chatter, you know, it's bad information. Because this is a chassis dyno and it's sampling at the tire, you know, there's always going to be a variance there, like heat of the tire, how heavy the tire is, what kind of tire it is, how tight the chain is, the condition of the chain, the wheel bearings, the brake drag, there's all this kind of stuff. So there's one factor. There's also the correction factor. They provide a weather station to account for all the variables in conditions like temperature, air density, all that kind of stuff, and then they have a correction factor they apply to that to try to make it so if you run the thing in the wintertime where the conditions are really good, you know, 59 degrees, 1 bar of air pressure, all that kind of stuff, and then you run in the summer when it's humid and all that, you can kind of compare the numbers. But anytime you have math applied to it, there's you know a tolerance or a slop, and so, you know, you really can't compare apples to oranges even on the same dyno if the conditions aren't exactly the same. Real testing is done on an engine dyno, where there's an engine, has a flange on it, it has an eddy current brake like this, or has a water brake, and the conditions are very monitored. You know, it's in a controlled environment. You know what the fuel is, all this kind of stuff, and you can really do diagnostic stuff like that or development stuff. But you know, there's a limited utility to a chassis dyno, and a lot of people think that it's gospel, and it's not. I can make any motorcycle kind of read whatever I want. It's very easy to manipulate. A lot of people do that because they're trying to market something, and it's frustrating to me, the end user, because some guy on the internet sells a cam or an airbox or some magic box that does something, and he says it's going to make 10, and you put it on, and you bring it down here, and it makes none or 1, and then you whip out the smartphone and call him or email him or put it on the forum, and he says, well, your tuner doesn't know what he's doing. Because what else is he going to say? He's not going to say, man, let me PayPal you back that money real quick because I'm obviously, you know, selling smoke and mirrors. It's just kind of their only out, and it's what you should expect. If they're not out there winning races, they're probably not selling something that's good. You know, I mean, Yoshimura's not going to lie to you. Vance and Hines isn't going to lie to you. You know, DME isn't going to lie to you. Bob's, you know, Rod and Cycle in, you know, nowhere, West Virginia, that has some awesome head cam or piston or whatever, he's probably going to lie to you because he's not winning stuff. You know, I've never been to the races and seen his sticker on something that's in the winner's circle. I mean, that's not always the case, but it's a pretty good rule of thumb. So you have to keep that in mind. And the other thing with dynos is that, you know, because horsepower is kind of, everybody has their own idea how to collect it. Like Mustang dyno, Bajaj dyno, Dynojet dyno. You can't compare the numbers from one brand to the other, and you can't compare the numbers from one Dynojet to the other because it's easy to change that, and it's very common. So I get a lot of phone calls where I tune something that makes 150 to pick a number. They take it across town, it makes 160. They call me, they say, well, you know, I took my bike to this guy, you tuned it, made 150, he tuned it, it made 160, so he's smarter than you. And I'm like, cool, man, we'll come over here, we'll run it, and if it makes 160 on my dyno, then I'll give you your money back. And if it makes 150, then he gotcha. And you know, to this date, I've not given anybody their money back because it's just marketing. You know, I could say, bring it over here, it'll make 161. And then they do, and I could give them the chart that says 161, and they take it over there, he says 162, and then you have 1,000 horsepower CBR 600s or whatever you have. So it's all just a big game, and it's frustrating because there's a lot of bad information out there, and the guys with the least amount of knowledge are the guys that are the most vocal. They're on YouTube, they're doing videos like this. They just have a lot of time to waste because they're making a lot of money because they're lying to people and they're getting a lot of work. It's really frustrating. I prefer an educated customer, and you know, you're doing yourself a favor to be educated, to find out what somebody's training is, what racing they've done, you know, their equipment. Do they have a load cell? Do they have an up-to-date dyno? You know, have they gone to school for it? All that kind of stuff is questions that you need to ask when you're trying to pick a guy that's going to tune your, you know, 10,000 or in this case, $30,000, $40,000 motorcycle. You know, it's not just the number; it's how it's going to work out in the world, and their resume is how it's going to work out in the world. You know what they've done, not what they promise you that they've done or they can do. So, short little rant there. I'm going to do some more stuff. Like I said, I'm still going to run this bike today. I've just gotten sucked into some other stuff, and we'll see what it does. It should be neat. We're going to do a couple different boost runs. If it does what it's supposed to, which I think it should, it looks like a pretty solid setup. You know, it'll be some good stuff to see. So stay tuned, and we'll put it out there.